Okay, so I'm gonna have to do this video again. It shut off the first time. So this we do it all straight from the garage once again. Doing an oil pressure sending unit or oil pressure regulator, whatever you want to call it, on a 2008 GMC Yukon. A whole job literally took me about 30 minutes. Not too bad to do. I got small hands, so it was a lot easier for me. But basically, you just remove the engine cover, which sits on top. And the engine cover, all you do is lift it from here and pull it out. That'll get you access to all these little parts back here. And then the fuel line, I use the fuel line removal tool that I got from O'Reilly's. It's this little tool right here. Stick it over the fuel line. Right, push back and pull the fuel line off at the same time. I'm doing this with one hand, so it's kind of tough to do, but once you push back, it releases the tabs inside of this fuel line, and the fuel line comes right off. You're gonna have a little fuel spillage, not much, but just be aware that there will be some fuel spillage. Next thing I removed is this line right here. This is on the fuel pressure regulator or something like that it's called, but it sits right behind the alternator. And okay, it's this little piece right here. Basically with this, it goes in the back. Goes into the back of it. Right here. Let me see. And I did a video on how to replace this valve. Right, so if you want to look back at my videos, you can see, but all you do is that little white tab right there. White tab, you press it in or down, actually to be down, press it down and pull this out, and that comes out. Then there's a breather tube that goes on top of the intake. It sits right here. It's just a hose that holds it in, so you just pull it out. Nothing too crazy. So once you get all that prep work done, your oil pressure sending unit is back here, right behind this cover. There's a plastic cover or metal cover. It's right behind this plastic cover. Excuse me, metal cover. And you just remove the wire harness from the top of it. And then what I did after I removed the wire harness, there's one clip on the wire harness on the front. You just got to pry it up just a little bit. Don't pry it up too much or you'll break it. And pull the wire harness off. I tried a couple of different methods. Come to find out, 27mm socket with a swivel works perfect. Fish it back here. Put it right on top of the oil sending unit. And then once you stick it on top, this is where my reducer came in. What did I do with my reducer? Once you put it on top of the oil pressure switch, take your reducer with your extension and stick it inside the swivel. And once you do that, it should be sitting straight up right in this little area. And then you put your ratchet on top, take it off. I screwed it out probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 turns, and I was able to get it by hand the rest of the way. Came right out, no issues. So after I got, oh, this is the old one. This is the old one right here. It was leaking and my oil pressure was off, so I figured I'll go ahead and change it. Anyway, it sits in kind of like this. If you look at this little notch right here, that's what the wire harness sits on. So you just pull that back, slide it off. And I got the new one here. I bought from AutoZone. It was, I think, 60 bucks. New one here. Comes with thread lock on it already. One thing to be aware of, if you pull the old one out and there's a yellow like gasket in there, make sure you pull that out and put it in this one. That's for the wiring harness, I guess, so no water or fluid gets in there. And like I said, with the 27, Show you this real quick. Hold on 1 second. All right, so I tried a 1 1/16 standard socket, and it had a little bit too much wiggle room, so I figured I'd try this 27. And the 27 sits right on top. Now, if you want to do this the absolute correct way, they do sell a socket for this. A socket where the inside is rounded versus squared. And as you notice, the threads on here, well, not the threads, but the body where it sits is rounded. But I found that the 27 seems to work fine. It works for me. And if you look at it here, you put this in there. Doing this with one hand is a monster. But if you look at the way it fits in there, let me do it the right way. You can see it fits in there pretty snug. All right. Yes, it does a little play, but it's not enough, I believe, to stress it out or round it off. So that's what I did. Reached back there, took it out, and now I'm gonna put the new one in. Not too bad. Just be aware that fuel line, I do believe you want to take it off to make your life easier. And it helps if you have smaller hands. Bigger hands are going to have a harder time getting back there. But I'll go ahead and put this back in. All right, so in reverse order. I already took the sending unit and I seated it in there by hand. So I just hand tightened it a couple turns. It's going to get tight because of the thread lock on it. But once you get it in there, like I said, you take your 27 millimeter with the extension on it, with the swivel on it, stick it on top, and make sure that the swivel, make sure you swivel out so you can get to it. So now that's in there. And with my reducer on my extension, I'm gonna go ahead and link that up now. Okay, so now I have it on. As you can see, I have, that's my extension right there. You see how it's sticking out? So all I'm gonna do is put my ratchet on it and tighten it down, and put the wire harness back on, and do everything else in reverse order. Put the fuel line back on, and the two hoses, and we should be good. All right, so I've got my ratchet on now. And I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it down, but basically that's what it should look like. You wanna try to get as tall of an angle, the least of an angle that you can when you put it back in. That'll allow for the ratchet to swing freely. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it down from here, and then put the wire harness back on. Yeah, that's what it should look like. It's a tight space, but if you don't wanna remove the intake manifold, which is this whole piece here, that's the easiest way that I found to do it. Once I get it tightened down, I'll come back.